Welcome back, everybody. It is time for the Nerd Log. We're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart, which is Open Telemetry. We have two guests because that is how big and cool Open Telemetry is. First, let's have Ali say hi to the people. Tell them what you do for New Relic.
Hi, everyone. I'm at Ending with Ali on everything, including Minecraft. I work as a senior developer relations engineer, and I stream on Twitch almost every single day, so you should check me out.
Love it. Thank you so much. I haven't introduced myself. I didn't introduce myself in the last segment, so I'll do it now. I'm Noshanika. I'm serverless mom everywhere, especially including TikTok, where I do work TikTok. Wild. A wild reality. But now let's have our people say hello. Chris, say hi to the people. Tell them what you do for New Relic.
Hello, the people. I'm a staff engineer at New Relic. I have the good fortune to work on our ingest pipelines, stream processing, literally services handling petabytes of data every day from all of the people.
I'm sad I didn't get to make a who's hungry joke about ingest pipelines, but yes, we're talking about ingesting data. We're talking about ingesting a lot of data. But let's have James say hi. And James, say hi to the people. Tell them what you do for New Relic.
Hello, I'm James Stuckey, and I'm a Senior Director of Product Management for the New Relic Telemetry Data Platform. And I have the distinct pleasure of working with amazing developers like Chris, who bring cool products to market for observability customers. And so in particular, I've been working most recently around Open Telemetry and bringing some great new stuff to market in that space.
I love that. This is your second time on the Nerd Log. You were here to talk about HIPAA compliance, which is a very critical thing and a very important thing for big enterprises. And it's funny because this one almost feels like the other side of the coin, because this is everybody everywhere sending data, right? This is not just people with compliance concerns, which is super duper important. But this is like, if you've got a cool robot that measures aquarium gravel, you can monitor it with Open Telemetry and you can send us this data. And we've had kind of an Open Telemetry product solution for a while, or ability to ingest data for a while, but it was a little bit sticky. We were using like an importer, if I understand it correctly. Talk me through that.
Yeah, so a couple of things happened. So we had an early access solution that was out there for ingesting Open Telemetry data, and we also had some exporters that we made available. One that you could plug into the Open Telemetry collector, which is the service that you can deploy that you can collect and transform and send your telemetry data off to wherever you want, whatever backend, like New Relic. So we had an exporter that we built there that you could use that to then send that data to our existing metric, log, and trace APIs. We also had exporters that we built for some of the language SDKs that were out there. So what we've done that's new is that we now have a production ready OTLP endpoint. OTLP is the transport protocol that Open Telemetry defines for sending your data. It's the native one, so it's the easiest way to send your data. And so now you can point any of those things, the collector, one of those SDKs, just at New Relic very, very easily, just by putting in the new Relic endpoint and sticking in your license key. And now you got your metric, log, and trace data flowing into New Relic, into that new endpoint. So super excited to make that really easy to get data flowing into New Relic. No need to have those vendor-specific exporters there anymore. Just use the native built-in OTLP support, and off you go.
Yeah, and we're hoping that as we see Open Telemetry grow, that we'll be able to say there's more places that just say, yeah, just give me the endpoint, right? Which might be your Prometheus Grafana system that you built yourself, or might be some kind of SaaS tool like New Relic where you want that piece to be collecting data. And again, it's just, they've written some agent to do some, for whatever it might be, serverless PHP or Vercel or whatever cool thing. They can just say, hey, give me the endpoint. And now we can just say, hey, just use ours. Here's its location.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a couple ways we expect people to send, data to us, right? They can send it directly, like you said, from anything. They can also send it to the collector, or if they want to do some other transformation on it, they want to send it to multiple sources. They have the ability to do it whether it makes the most sense for them, whatever their needs are. So that's pretty cool as well, I think.
Thank you so much for dropping the link. We got some Open Telemetry examples dropped in the chat. Thank you, Ali. You're always the one who remembers that chat exists, which I appreciate. But yeah, what do we want to talk about next? Do we want to do a demo? What do we want to do?
Yeah, I said how easy it was. Maybe we'll let Chris show how easy it is and kind of what that experience looks like, all the way from getting some data flowing in to like what it looks like in NR1 and kind of what you get out of the box. Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, let's see it.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, yeah. So today I'm going to demo using some existing software that's up on our public GitHub. So if you just go to the New Relic organization on GitHub, there's this New Relic Open Telemetry examples repo, which I think Ali linked already.
Yeah, if you're on Twitch, it's right in the chat. Check it out.
Perfect.
Go through with us. That's even better.
If you're, again, most of our viewers are watching later. Most of you are like, oh my God, she said it was Thursday. It's not Thursday. You're watching it tomorrow. You're watching it next week. Check the YouTube links down below. There will definitely be a link to these GitHub examples.
Yeah, so this repository has a bunch of different applications written in different languages, all showing off your ability to instrument those apps with Open Telemetry. You might be using the Open Telemetry SDK directly. You might be using the OTel agent, and we have examples for all of that. Today, we're going to do a Java demo, and specifically this logs in context with Log4j example. The reason being simply it's the only example that has logs, so it was easy to do. We want to show all of the Open Telemetry telemetry types. We want to show logs, we want to show metrics, and we want to show traces. So it was easy for me to make that happen with this one. So let's look at this demo, and hopefully y'all like images. It kind of helps when I explain what is this demo actually doing. So we have a super simple application. It's Java Spring Boot web app. It exposes one simple REST endpoint on 8080 called ping. You hit that, and it returns a Pong text message back to you. And so what we've done is we've manually instrumented with the Open Telemetry SDK. We create a span when that ping request comes in. So we'll see traces anytime there's a ping request. We've added in a metric. So specifically, we'll increment some counter when a request comes in. And then we also are logging out a message. So all three of those telemetry types are reported through the Open Telemetry SDK. And then what's also unique about this example, instead of the SDK reporting direct to the New Relic backend, what we're actually doing is we're reporting to a local Open Telemetry collector. This is a common deployment pattern. We see people want to use a collector to possibly filter telemetry before it actually goes to their vendor, or maybe they want to multiplex to multiple vendors simultaneously. The collector allows them to do that. So then the collector is the thing that's actually configured to send the data to New Relic on the backend. And yeah, and so we are going to stand this up with Docker Compose. We'll be running the application, like I said. We'll be running the collector in a separate container. And then the one other thing I modified to my local version of this is I added a curl script, a continuous curl, so that I can actually generate some load without having to sit here and refresh the ping endpoint for everybody to see. And I think we'll have a new example coming up pretty soon. The team that builds these, I brought some of the feedback of wanting something that shows all three telemetry types. We also might make it a little bit easier that you don't even have to build the jar. You don't have to know anything about Gradle or Java specifically. It'll just be a Docker Compose, so all you have to have installed is Docker. Okay, so let's go ahead and see it. Let's do this thing that's supposed to be so easy.
Send some data.
Yeah, let's send some
We
data.
love a Docker moment. It makes everything easier.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so like we said, the first thing that you need to do is you need to set your endpoint. Where are you going to send this data? And this is what we GA'd, the native OTLP endpoint at New Relic, otlp.nrdata.net. And it uses port 4317. That is specific, that is intentional. That is the native OTLP port. And so we're accepting data on that. And you can see we're using HTTPS. So we're going to set that endpoint. The other thing, there's only two steps. The second step is we actually need to set our license key. So we're setting environment variables here. It's the proper way to bring your secrets into your application. I'm not going to set our New Relic API key here right now so that you all don't try to send a bunch of data into James's account and overwhelm it. So pretend I just set my New Relic API key environment variable here as well. And then at this point, we are ready to Docker Compose. And and we're going to stand up the application, the collector, and this continuous curl to generate some load. Whoops.
And I'll say that when you try this and it doesn't work, remember that Chris said that it was port 4317, which is standard for OpenTelemetry, but probably not standard for anyone else's port configuration on their firewall today.
Yeah.
So go talk to your network person and say, hey, can you open up this port so I can use it if that comes up.
I also genuinely have such admiration for anyone who's willing to do an actual demo and like type, CLI commands from memory and have it hopefully work right? Like hopefully Docker up works. You think we're there?
Oh yeah. I was in the wrong directory.
The number of times
I initially was going to show getting to the right place, but of course
it's
wild
wild
that part.
That I hate this so. Like I hate doing it myself so much when I have decided that it will be my job and career to write code that works. And of course, here's the thing, right? We've all been there, right?
Yep.
And it's so nice when you see a demo and how these things happen because it's like, oh, right, that's not just me who's particularly incapable of doing this job.
Totally. It's amazing how heavy your fingers get when you know there's people watching you typing.
Yeah. Like just write the SQL query, right? Just the first time, no problem. Just go ahead and edit just one line of that YAML and don't edit for space.
I did want to add really quick to James's point about this standard but not previously standard port 4317. In the future, we do hope to release supporting on standard HTTPS port 443, so that if for some reason you can actually punch a hole through your firewall to talk on that port, you could use standard 443. But we don't have that yet.
Gotcha.
Okay, so right now you can see this. The collector happens to be the thing that's dominating our service logs here. Part of the reason for that is we're running something that OpenTelemetry has. We have enabled the logging exporter.
So I'm gonna interrupt because I may have missed this question from earlier from No Skills 900. No Skills 900, you're watching an observability live stream, so I think you may have some skills. But No Skills asks, how does this differentiate from the infrastructure agent? And that's a great question. I can probably field that one, but I don't know, James. Maybe you want to answer.
Sure. Yeah. So our infrastructure agent, right? You can collect some similar data, right? There's OpenTelemetry instrumentation for infrastructure that you could use. Our New Relic agent can do that as well. I think what you'll find with our agent is that at least today, the data that you're getting out of that is richer, and there's sort of more data that's collected from more different sources, sort of out of the box. Over time, as the community contributes more OpenTelemetry instrumentation for various infrastructure that you may be using, you may be able to get some of the same information out of that. So there's just alternatives. It's like which one's best for the job.
My thought is, I think the short version is if you have a straightforward virtual machine or bare metal machine and you want to monitor with the infrastructure agent, that is going to get you great data. And we're not saying, hey, go start using OpenTelemetry, writing your own agent and sending your own data. It's not so much that. It's that I had a conversation the other day with somebody who's doing serverless PHP. They're doing, in fact, Symfony framework on PHP. Now, PHP is not a supported runtime by any serverless platform, right? So a guy has written his own runtime, which he's releasing as part of the Symfony framework, and there's a lot of people using it. Are we going to release an agent or a piece that's going to monitor that specifically? Probably not. That's pretty niche. It's cool. I love it, but it is pretty niche, right? And so that is really where most of the money is. If you're saying, hey, I have a server, and what it is it's a giant tomato picking machine, and it only sends data via shortwave radio. Can I monitor that with New Relic, right? That might be an example where no, we're probably not going to write an agent for that, right? Where OpenTelemetry is going to be a great solution, and that one's a goofy one, and serverless PHP is not. It's a totally reasonable use case, right?
But the tomato thing would be sick.
The tomato thing would be pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the thing, right? It's for little hacker projects, of course, it's fantastic. But also for stuff that is just kind of mid-size. It's like, hey, we're this cool project. We've made a Series A. We have 100 users. Can we get our data into New Relic? Can we say, hey, you can start using New Relic as a monitoring option for our tool? Absolutely, and OpenTelemetry is probably that path. I would say, and this is where I get on my little hobby horse, when someone says, oh, I'm using like an OpenTelemetry agent for Node, for my like Node app or for my Rails app, probably, the New Relic agent is open source and free. Go use that. And it probably makes a little more sense than if you're already signed up to New Relic, go grab our agent and send data from there. Use OpenTelemetry for all the edge cases, the stuff that is just not super frequently used and not well. instrumented, that's going to make a little more sense. I'm so glad that I got to talk through some of this install, but I think now we have some more demo stuff to show. So I'll pass the mic back to Chris.
Yeah, I'll say one other thing quickly on that question. I think what Chris is showing here, just to make sure it's clear, is that he's got instrumentation in a Java application, right? So the more direct comparison would actually be more like, how does it compare to the Java agent? And similar thing applies, right? That I think you're going to find with the Java agent, it's much richer than what you're going to get out of the box here, even with the same application. But the great news is you don't really have to choose one or the other, right? With New Relic, you can send data from our agents. You can send it from open telemetry sources. You can send it from Telegraph, like whatever sources that you have that provide the visibility and the visibility you want. You can send that in. You can view it all in New Relic One. So it's really what works best for you and what's best for your particular technology that you're using.
Okay, so Chris, what are we seeing?
Yeah, so as I was saying, this is the logging exporter that the collector is currently spewing logs about all of the telemetry it's exporting. We just happen to have that turned on. So that's why we kind of see a lot of this noisy logging going on. It's literally, outputting every time there's some telemetry that the collector has shipped up to New Relic. Okay. So we know that's happening. Now let's get to the interesting bit. Let's go see some telemetry. So we're going to go to onenewrelic.com in our one, and I am going to filter down to just the account that we're sending this data in to not kind of see all the other accounts that we have access to. And that logs in context demo that we're running right now, we're sending telemetry with a service name of logs in context. So right off the bat here, you see in the entities in this Explorer view, I have an Open Telemetry service that has been detected. It's got the name logs in context. That's probably the thing that I'm demoing. And we can see there's throughput, error, response time metrics that are coming in already.
Nice.
And it says it's using the Open Telemetry instrumentation provider. So let's click into this entity, see what else we can see. So here you go, those same metrics that we were just looking at. Now we can kind of see in a time series. We've got our response time. We've got our throughput. This should be about 60 a minute, give or take the response time, and because I'm sending a request every second. And then the error rate is 0. None of this like 12%, 13% error rate stuff that was being shown in the previous segment. We had 0 errors here. Okay, and so then to look deeper into these 3 telemetry types that OpenTelemetry is sending, we're sending spans, we're sending metrics, we're sending logs. Let's go drill into distributed tracing to see some spans first. So here we can see that endpoint I told you about, /ping. There's 327 traces already. So we've been running this thing for at least 5 minutes. And each one of those traces has 1 span on average. That makes sense. I'm not calling out any external dependencies, not doing anything else fancy here. It's just 1 span per trace. And there's only 1 entity, again, because it's just this 1 app that's involved in each request. So we can click into this distributed tracing view just for this span name. And boom, we get that nice cluster view of all the different requests that are happening every second. You can see they have this range of response time between 0 and 200 milliseconds. That's because there's a random sleep in this app controlling how long we sit on a request. So it's exactly what we expect.
Oh, we have like an actual cloud of Brownian noise. That's neat.
Yeah, exactly. So then we can click into a single trace. And the cool thing I want to show here, because this is the logs in context demo, that's actually saying for every log that we create, if it happens to be in the context of a span, well, we're going to tag that log with the span ID so that you can actually go, if you are debugging a distributed trace and you realize, I need to drop into some sort of logging view, see which logs were happening with this specific request, you can do that. So up in the upper right corner, you can see I have C logs. There's 1 log associated with this request. We'll click on that. It's loading. Okay, so this is the sample log message I generated when this specific request came in. And you can see it's a structured log. So in addition to the message we have here that says a sample log message, we've got all these other great attributes about the infrastructure and the context in which this log was created. So you can't see it right now because I'm I blew up my screen to make it more visible, but the span ID is one of the attributes that's on here to make that connection between distributed trace and this log. Okay, so that was one telemetry check. That was spans. Now let's go, and we kind of showed logs too. We can actually see, if we drop into the logs view on the left here for this entity, we can actually see a whole list of all the logs that we're getting sent over Open Telemetry. You can see these sample log messages that get created on every request. You can actually also see the logging export messages we talked about the logging exporters on. So there's logs created about the telemetry being sent up. Those are being sent up as telemetry. It's very meta, but you can see those logs as well. So we're collecting everything in this view. Again, we get these logs associated with this entity because they're tagged with service.name is logging context. And then the last thing we want to drop down and see is I said I had a metric on this app, and for every request, we're recording a metric. So here down on the left, I dropped into the Metrics Explorer view, and we can see this My Custom Counter thing. This is actually getting like the sum of the amount of time I slept on each request every 5 seconds. And that's what the counter is showing here. If we wanted to do fancier querying with this, we can click into it. I've been dropped into NERCL. I could change this max to a sum, and away you go, querying with all the power of NERCL.
Yeah, we would use a sum for like maybe to try and get a sense of how long total people have been waiting, but also super useful for something like, hey, we sold some boots, they were $5. We sold some other things, they were $11. A sum would be like, hey, how much money we're really making all told here, right? Where average sold is like not that useful.
Exactly. Yeah. And if this was looking at something like response time, obviously I care about max. I care about my percentiles, 99, 95th. Those would be things we'd want to look at.
Yeah, I really, really like that. Oh, this is it's so neat to be here in the year where it feels like there's all this opening up happening and all these like cool little projects are becoming more and more like first-class citizens within the app. And that just feels so nice because it means that you're not like, oh yeah, you can send us data and it'll kind of be hidden over here. It's like, no, you can have, right when everybody logs in Relic, the first thing they see can be this, piece of custom information that we, our industry really cares about.
And also with the opening up, I mean, having these open source examples and creating that community is just like so big.
Yeah.
Especially with Hacktober.
Yeah.
Being sure to contribute to open source is just like so close to my heart. I love open source. So
love that. But so James, what else should we look at? What else should we see here that's critical to people that we want to make sure we demonstrate?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris kind of hit on some of the high points there. I mean, obviously, try it out yourself, right? Yeah, sign up for a free account. Use one of those. You mentioned Open Telemetry, node agent. Use that. Use one of the agents that's out there. Like take one of the sample apps that was linked earlier for a spin. The other thing I wanted to do a shout out for is that along with our announcement of the GA of this new OTLP endpoint, Amazon at the same time announced their ABS distribution for Open Telemetry. So this is their packaged distro of Open Telemetry that they make really easy for you to go and deploy if you're on Amazon. So if you're on Amazon, you can always check that out. There's instructions right there, very similar to what Chris did, that showed how you could just configure that to point it at New Relic. And so that's another good way to get some data flowing in from somewhere that can give you some additional insights and observability if you're specifically on Amazon. So another way to leverage Open Telemetry and send that data into New Relic where you can view it together with everything else. So I want to make sure people were aware of that as well.
No Skills asked about documentation for NERCL, and I'm just dropping it into the chat. It's in there. It's pretty well documented. It is a cut down version of SQL, so you can't do like joins and other stuff that would be super computationally expensive. But if you understand SQL, you really shouldn't have trouble with it. But there's great documentation, which is linked in the chat, and we link to the show notes as well.
On Twitch, we do have some questions. Anna Kim Luke says, does a machine observe itself and trigger a notification, or does it just send the data to New Relic server And from there, things are triggered because they were asking earlier about email alerts. But also at the same time, we did just get rated on our Twitch channel. So quick thank you to Pokemon for coming in.
Nice. So yeah, it's a really good question, like about a machine observing itself, and that kind of brings us over to some thoughts about synthetics that are pretty basic, which is like we were just having a conversation about what is the purpose of like synthetics and other kind of external pinger services, because it's great to have a machine reporting on its own health, but there is this question of what do you do if that machine is completely down and it's not reporting that it is in ill health. So no news is no news good news there, or is it not?
Yeah, and in this specific situation, what Chris showed, it's configured as he showed in that diagram, if you remember, where the application is setting to a collector. That's all running locally, and then that's shipping things off to New Relic, to the cloud, to our back end, where you then can configure alerts or whatever you want using the alerting and the AI ops capabilities of New Relic One.
So one question I'd have is how, let's say someone is currently using New Relic, but they want to get started. They say, I want to at least just try this out, see how these features work before I show it to the rest of my team. What's a good way to sort of get started day one?
Yeah, what do you think, Chris? How would you get started?
With Open Telemetry in your application?
Yeah, so let's say they just want to give it a try. They want to see how it works before maybe getting their whole team involved.
Yeah, I mean, I would take one perfect starting point is go find like the OTel agent in the language that you have, or if you're more comfortable doing manual instrumentation, like honestly for me that would be my preference. I would go. We so often know how we want to custom instrument something that I'd be more interested in pulling the SDK and bring those libraries, those dependencies into my application in staging and just put it out there, add some instrumentation, and then send data to New Relic and see what I get.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. Oh, folks, what else do we need to talk about, or do we have stuff we want to plug? James, do you have a Peloton group channel that you want everyone to join on Discord, where you challenge everyone to get a higher Peloton score than you?
I don't. I'm an avid cyclist, but not a Peloton person. I have a Wahoo kicker in my basement. So if you want to get on Zwift, and get on some bots, I'm all about that.
I have trouble biking if I'm not going someplace. I'm sorry to say, like I don't drive, so I bike all over the place. But I have to go. I have to be going somewhere.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. I have a bike for every purpose, but do a lot of commuting on it and racing of different types and exercise on the trainer. But yeah.
And Chris, do you have a Duolingo group? You're trying to get the Duolingo high score. You're trying to get a Diamond League that we should follow you, or are there other socials and stuff you want to plug?
I don't have a Duolingo group. Gosh, like my GitHub might be the most interesting.
We will link your GitHub. I want people to check it out. Yeah,
and then even that is, but you can at least see where I'm contributing in Open Telemetry, commenting on things, or interacting.
You can come check out my GitHub at serverless_mom, where you will see that being a developer relations person and committing stuff to enterprise projects means I have a completely white graph, and it makes me feel bad. Oh, unavoidable. All right. Folks, thank you so much. We're going to go on to our next segment, but do come check out the Nerd Log every Thursday. Next segment coming up if you're watching live.